Hello and welcome to Channel Hope Podcast, where we share stories each fortnight to inspire and help people channel hope through life's challenges. I'm your host, Rata Campbell. In this episode, Vonda Nepia shares her personal cancer journey, which led her back home to live on her ancestral whenua or land in New Zealand's far north. Vonda discusses her personal evolution and role as an advocate for the health, well-being and development of Māori communities prior to and since cancer survivorship. Her inspiring story highlights the importance of cultural perspectives and improved cancer care and general healthcare access for all peoples. Kia ora, Vonda.
Kia ora. Thank you for having me.
I've been fortunate enough to meet you just through our own whānau experience with cancer, and I've heard your whole story. Can you talk to us a little bit about your early life prior to your cancer?
Oh, well, I was diagnosed at the age of 47. But before that, raised in South Auckland. I went to school, started my first job in education and training support agency in Manukau City. I went off to Otaki, got my master's in Māori and management. Went up to Te Puni Kōkiri in Whangarei, did some work there, shot off to Australia for about 8 years and came back about 11 years ago now, lived in Tokoroa. So originally my dad Māori, my mother English, French. Mum was from Warrensville, Papakura, and Dad was from a place called Kaihu or Mamaranui in the Kaipara Dargaville. So why is Vonda living in Tokoroa? Well, I came back from Australia and it was the cheapest place to live, basically. Rent was still under $200 a week for a 3-bedroom home. Everywhere else in the country was just $500-600. And I just thought, why if I come back to New Zealand?
It's an interesting little town too, hey. I mean, it had at least extremely strong industry too, so people could potentially make great money, buy a home or rent cheaply.
Yeah.
But that's changed too.
Drastically, was attracted to it wasn't the weather. My gosh, it was from Brisbane, Australia to dark, wet Tokoroa. But I looked at the map and there were 13 primary schools and high schools and what have you on there. So I thought, I'll become a teacher. Definitely wasn't interested in working at the mill. And then I absolutely fell head over heels in love with the community. It felt like I'd stepped back in time to the 80s, living in Otara, South Auckland. So my son can walk to school by himself, go and play, have dinner, whatever, at the neighbour's house. We were all mates and still are today. So I was grateful for that experience for him.
It's that real small town camaraderie. My husband talks about that all the time, and he still has friends to this day he cherishes from his hometown. The experience, like with your studies as well, with Māori and management, talk to me a little bit more about that and what sort of inspired you to head down that route of study.
So 17, started working in a government agency. Around about 23, started to become a Dala Māori, I'd say, and I mean that respectfully. I was now being called upon to do pōwhiri, integrate te ao Māori within my workplace. And I didn't know how to speak Māori. And so won a scholarship, went down to Te Whānau Raukawa, did 2-year masters in Māori and management, and I loved it. Fell just so in love with iwi hapu whānau development and what that truly looks like and how it can be practically implemented in my own life and within government agencies, how they can be better aware of how to meet the needs of tailor-make the needs to the areas that we serve within government.
Your interest in bringing that to the table in public service, it almost certainly would have coloured where you ended up going after your cancer diagnosis and experience. Diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia at 47. I mean, that's pretty hectic. That's really heavy. Pretty much put a great big set of brakes on in your life. What happened that enabled you to, the events that led up to you being diagnosed?
Stress, I'd say, was prominent around my life at that time. I was a school teacher working 80 hours a week around the clock. I was smoking cigarettes. I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't putting myself first. I wasn't in touch with my wairua in any spiritual sense. I was just head down, bum up, putting everyone else first in my life. And I think I'd run my immune system down. Yeah. And so working from home during COVID, and a spider crawled in through the wood bin, white-tailed spider, and bit me on the hand. And I flicked it off. I didn't think much of it. 6 weeks later, we got back to school and we're teaching the children. And I was embarrassed because it turned into an ugly rash. So got mum to ring the doctor. Yeah, they took blood tests and told me it was acute myeloid leukemia. So 72 hours to get chemo in me. Otherwise, yeah, I would have died.
Wow. They literally told you that 72
Yeah.
hours?
72 hours. Miss Nepia, if you go home, because I thought everyone was tripping out. Like, come on. I got to go home and pack my bags properly at least. They wouldn't let me out of the hospital.
I mean, I can only reference the experience we had when we were told about our son having cancer. But when it's yourself, and, you know, and like you say, everyone's tripping. It is probably the most surreal experience, isn't it? When you're having that korero, that discussion with anybody about your life or the life of somebody else. So where did they take you to from there?
Yep, from Toke Hospital, sent up to Waikato Hospital. Stayed there from August 2020 till December, when they then transferred me to Auckland Hospital for a stem cell transplant.
Wow. With the stem cell transplant, the donor, was that someone within your whānau, or did they have to go outside to international sources?
Mum and Dad, we're a family of 5 kids, and so they all got tested. My younger brother, Clint, he was 100% match.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah, it was, and he went from the black sheep to the hero overnight.
What an incredible thing to be able to do for his sister, though, right? Like, it would just forge an incredible bond, forever bond between you, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, absolutely an incredible bond. I talk to him daily. Hey, and true story, and I don't mind sharing this. My brother's in jail at the moment, so newsflash, I'm his support person, and in many ways, like we're going to talk about this soon about whare tapa whā, whare tapa rima. It's a big part of me discussing with him on a daily basis what's in store for him, what support is around him now, and to take every little bit that's available to him while he's incarcerated to prepare him for what's coming, because I kind of was in the same boat as him. I felt like I was incarcerated in the hospital when I got my death sentence. It was like, what the hell? I've been punished. Okay. So I've got to get my head right. I've got to get my body right. I've got to get out of this place, and I've got to get off my life. And it's really bizarre that my brother has ended up now in that same position with that same challenge.
I also have a brother who's incarcerated. It kind of feels like maybe we learn the lessons we need to learn in our own life experiences in order to be able to, again, share that mātauranga, that knowledge, that wisdom that we gain from that really crappy experience. Let's be honest. Being, like you say, it's like being incarcerated. We felt the same way. I had to give up my life outside of, my son and my husband and our immediate world in order to care for him for a good 2 years. But it's funny, when you look back, it's like I didn't really give up anything, because we learned the life lessons that we needed to move forward and make progress. Do you feel perhaps none of this is a coincidence? There is more to this?
Like, she is divine intervention. Like, I felt as though I had been picked up and said, right, Vonda, you're going to deal with this for us, please. Yeah, I was molded to do a certain thing for a certain reason, and I was running 100 miles away from it, and I knew it. Deep down inside, I knew I had bigger dreams that I was just ignoring. So
I know it seems like we're probably moving a little far away from the topic, but again, I think this is the thing about a cancer experience. It can take you down so many unexpected roads, and it's all about growth. It's all about, learning lessons and sharing knowledge. Now, just to go back to the public health experience that you were having, Talk us through a little bit about that. What were the things that you experienced that, were a little troubling for you or that didn't work for you?
Okay. Yeah, I guess you look from the outside and think, oh, yeah, that's great. We've got a hospital. One day I might need it. But when you're in there, you're quickly looking around to see, yeah, what have they got that I actually need to reach out for right now? Clinically, they got on with Bizzo. Emotionally, mentally, I was thinking, no, I need other things. So I had a bit of a breakdown in my room once the chemo started. I was starting to give up but my fight, my optimism, and worried about my 12-year-old son, Tamati, at the time. My partner, who was also going through mental illnesses himself.
The really heavy burdens to have to carry on top of being, so I've seen firsthand the effects chemo has, and it goes so far beyond the physical. It really does chip away at someone's will to live, as you say, with clinical staff not necessarily being across your needs or even inquiring about them to the point where you could have a support system around to make your journey a little easier. What were some of the things that you ended up discovering that you needed?
So when I hit rock bottom, psychiatrists came in and gave me a form. I ticked the boxes, and I noticed the boxes were divided into Te Whare Tapa Whā, Sir Mason Jury's mental health model. Straight away, that resonated with me because being a school teacher, COVID happened. We were asked by the Ministry of Education at that time to put the brakes on the curriculums and just nurture our children using that model. So it was fresh in my mind at the time. So when I saw that on my checklist, it's like, right, this is how I'm going to communicate what I need to the hospital system. But I had to go beyond just the psychiatrist. I wanted to tap into the doctors, and I wanted to tap into the nurses and the charge nurses because they were the ones that were with me every day, not the psychiatrists. Yes. So yeah, I asked her for some pen and some paper and some blue tack and some sellotape, and I drew the model, put a poster up on my wall and wrote down all the things that I needed.
So just for the listeners, and particularly anyone that doesn't understand, Te Reo Māori or that doesn't understand this Te Whare Tapa Whā, what that concept is, can you talk us through?
So Sir Mason Jury, Professor Sir Mason Jury, he introduced that in the 80s to our New Zealand health system. And it was a way of helping the staff to recognise the holistic needs of the patients. And it was broken up into mental needs, physical needs, family needs, spiritual needs. And so hence the four sides. And he symbolises it in the way of a house, the whare. And that resonates with us as Māori because we see our body as a whare.
Te Whare Tapa Whā includes spirituality as part of a holistic view of wellness and health. Now, I don't know, to me, it just seems that Western medicine doesn't really cater to that and doesn't acknowledge that at all. Going through a cancer journey in particular, it takes you there. It really does make you feel that you need that side nurtured. What did you find you were able to meet by following that guideline?
Okay, the wider side of things is recognised by the system through religion in a big way. So they have their chapel for us to go and reside in. And kei te pai, I definitely visited that and utilised that service. Extra needs were connecting with people around me, my environment even, in a more deeper, intimate way. So I started to adapt to maramataka Māori.
Can you just quickly explain what maramataka Māori is for the average layperson?
Of course, aroha mai, sorry. So maramataka means the calendar,
yes,
the Māori calendar, recognising that the moon brings about an energy to our day, to our environment. So with that comes highs and lows, just like the tides. The moon makes the tides high and low. So I had to acknowledge that if I was having a low day today and my energy wasn't the best, it wasn't just because of the chemo, perhaps, or it wasn't just because of my treatment I was going through. It was because today was a rest day, apparently, in Maramataka Māori, and not trying to dramatize what I'm going through, being more in touch with the wairua of the environment, connecting with the energy around me, tapping into te ao Māori, so the Māori worldview, not just in the Maramataka Māori, but also in our principles of manakitanga, being pono, being tika, having aroha. All those principles have an energy to it that I wanted to connect with now. I don't want to muck around with what I was living, which was totally ignoring all those things.
Pono and tika. Could you just quickly explain those concepts?
Yes. So pono, I explain it as honesty, but another deeper level of honesty. Po Māori or night or dark. Po means that. No, N-O, P-O-N-O. N-O means no. Where's it coming from? The darkness in your life, where's it coming from spiritually, mentally, physically, whānau? And the fifth element that that I brought into my reality real quick smart was in terms of my whakapapa. Where was the darkness or the worry or the stress coming from in those 5 areas? Tika was about, okay, now that I've recognized what they are, how are you going to fix it? How can I fix it? What resources are around me in the hospital to fix it? And reaching out and asking for help, because it's okay to ask for help. Like if you're incarcerated, the first thing you do is reach out and fight your way out of that place. So I got over my ego real quick and just got the help I needed.
Ego is an interesting thing, isn't it? It really is a deeply unexpectedly spiritual journey it takes you on, isn't it? It forces you to have a look at the things that are going on in your life that you need to, like, not just fix, but just maybe rewire your thinking around. We've met because we've both ended up in this place where, cancer took us somewhere where we knew we wanted to take out what we've learned, our experiences, and share them with other whānau, other families going through what we have. Because it's so all-encompassing in your life, it affects every part of it. Can you talk to us about some of the advocacy and other types of mahi work that you've been putting in to support whānau, to support people?
About 2.5 years into my journey, the phone rings when I get home, and it's Te Whatu Ora, and they're asking me, about my poster that I put up in the hospital ward at the hematology department. I says, oh, yeah, I can talk about that. What do you want to know? I started to talk about how it empowered me to negotiate, to get the different support that I needed. So the fact that you come to Wellington and talk to a group of hematologists, then from there I figured out, we have a cancer control agency to help with policies to better serve our country. It's probably about 6 months after that gig, putting my hand up and going, I want to be a voice within this organisation. Leukaemia and Blood Cancer Foundation shoulder tapped me and asked if I'd join their organisation as an advocate, sharing my cultural lens, which they admitted they weren't particularly strong on, and I'm still there today. It's a society, even though I'm a blood cancer survivor, I have teamed up and collaborated with them with some iwi strategies around Rotorua mainly, just to share our stories.
Yeah. So those consumer advisory groups, they're really important to represent us and represent our needs and ensure they're being met through policy and delivery of public health policy. How do you feel about how well that's sort of being interpreted or being utilised, and what more could be done in this space, in your view?
Oh, gosh, I've worked for 20 years in government departments, so I know how difficult it is to get from pen to paper to actually implementing things and letting the money align with all that. What a job. It's just a constant communicating every step of the way. There's only so much money to go around, and there's huge gaps at different parts of that process, and people are missing out. There's no doubt about it.
Well, it hasn't helped as well with the disestablishment of Māori Health Authority, Te Aka Whaiora, all these things that have sort of happened that we're actually making great headway in this space.
I was in a totally different sector, education. However, I was with Te Puni Kōkiri, and I understand their need to be in place because it's exhausting trying to interpret everything. But yeah, it's all a power struggle, always is within politics. What I'm finding as an advocate is that I can use my voice to get across that cultural perspective. I've been taught through my own whānau living experience on my marae and around my hapu and around my iwi, or whether it's through going to Te Whānau or Raikawa and all these other universities around the country and given theory as well. I'll use whatever's in my kete to help the system and help the patients.
Yes. Well, that's the thing too, and I've come to understand, just like you, that there's actually a lot we can affect of the power of our own voices, not just me, not just you, but collectively, and sharing our knowledge in different ways. It'd be really cool if you could talk to us about where you've ended up and some of the things that you've been able to establish as a result.
I talked about pono, being honest, in the hospital system, tika, reaching out for help, so that I can get to that point where I'm strong again. Aroha, for me, I've defined that as aro meaning direction and ha meaning energy. So, Vonda, why do you want to stay alive? What's your direction? What's your dreams and aspirations? I had to recreate that and manifest that. That whare tapa rima, that fifth element anyway, is whakapapa and whenua. So, whakapapa meaning what my genealogy, where do I come from? Where do I belong? Whenua meaning land. What are my land rights? Again, where I come from. So there was big gaps around that for me. And in my journey over the last 5 years, figuring out who my grandfather was, what land we're supposed to succeed. Because on this journey, I also lost my father. So having to succeed to his whenua. So that my mokos, should I have any, preparing what they may need to lean on one day. Yeah, the beginning of our conversation was all about having to live miles away from home because the rent was cheap. Today, I'm living on the Papakainga, on Tupuna land. The clever cousins in my life, they got themselves organised way back in 2018 and managed to get through all the red tape, so that in 2024, I was able to move into a brand new little 2-bedroom home, double insulation, warm, clean. I can use my energy to serve my hapu. We've got a clinic arriving in an hour's time. They're coming to us.
A health clinic?
A health clinic, a registered nurse coming to check up on every one of us, and it's freely available. We don't have to travel 27 minutes to get into town.
That's incredible, yes, because that was one of the really big issues that we identified, just speaking to other whānau. We're all having to rack up huge miles just to do the stuff we had to do. And a lot of whānau were coming from your area and could ill afford to be doing it the way it was being done. And in fact, some had to miss appointments, unnecessarily, I might add, because it's supposed to be funded. Bringing that care closer to home is so important.
Prevention is the key, eh? And
Yes.
I've turned my Wellbeing around, and I've gone from 12 pills a day down to 2, and then the doctor tried to shovel me another one a couple of months ago, saying that my cholesterol was getting out of control, and I says, hang on, give me a couple of months to fix it. I go away and I'll adapt my eating and my exercise a little bit. But today I'll be able to go to the registered nurse and say, look, can you write me out a prescription so I can go and get a cholesterol blood test done?
That's incredible. Can you tell me how did that come to pass?
From just coming home, telling your story, wanting to get real, and people are going, wow, and you've got how many people living here? It's all about numbers too.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we can bring our service out here. Yeah, that'd be great. And at the beginning, we were all precious to staying with our own GPs in Auckland or wherever it is that we came from. Now they're all realizing, oh my gosh, it takes too much energy to drive, 2.5 hours to Auckland. So everyone is converting to trusting the local service here because we're rural. Dargaville's all over the news for not having a doctor. So prevention is a big part of our well-being out here.
Absolutely. And of course, I know that you're doing things in your own space. You have your own business, Atahua Wellbeing Solutions, and the program that you deliver through that called My Moko. What is that all about, and who could benefit from your services?
I've got a website, www.vondanepia.com, and on there you'll see that I'm offering workshops, kanohi ki te kanohi face to face, or I want to go global, sister, and say online, being able to deliver workshops like this. Also to work with whānau back here at home who have land, because we've got land blocks that are unproductive, and we still have a housing crisis. So being able to sit alongside other whānau and say, do you want to go on a Myeloid journey and put in place a plan on how we might be able to duplicate a papakainga up the road with our other marae. Well, April, as you know, we've got our World Indigenous Cancer Conference.
Are you going to be speaking at this event as well?
Absolutely. We are going to be speaking there. Yes. So the goal for me is to connect with our Indigenous cousins and to say, hey, look, this is what I have in my kete that might be able to help you in yours. What do you have in your kete that might be able to help me in mine? Because we know this is the knowledge economy. This is about reciprocity of mātauranga, of knowledge. So, yeah, we're ready. Māori are ready. We've been ready for a long time.
The last one that we attended in Melbourne, which was wonderful, I think we made a deep impression. The Māori contingent that were there, and our tangata tiriti brothers and sisters in support of us as well, who understand the need for more holistic approaches and that openness to Indigenous worldviews.
Yeah, and the grassroots stuff, because not all of us were able to get on a plane and go to Melbourne. Now they're all here. Yeah, they're going to be in Rotorua for the other countries to see what rongoa we have.
What will you be speaking about explicitly there, if you don't mind me asking? Just a little snapshot.
Yeah, so a lot of what we talked about today, in fact, most of what we talked about today, but also there I'll be launching a poster. This poster is pretty much engaging with the audience to ask those questions when you're on your wellbeing journey. What can I ask for? Is this bothering me? And to get the support that you need. So that poster will be launched. It's been sponsored by Leukaemia Blood Cancer Foundation, so I've got to give the big shout out to them. And then in July, I'm hoping to activate the papakainga focus here with our whānau, with our whenua. So yeah.
It's wonderful the work you're doing with your whānau, on your whenua, and bringing care to your community. That's an incredible achievement to bring health and well-being to the people. I wish you all the best on your journey, and we'll keep in touch.
Ka pai. All the best to you, and thank you for this opportunity. Ahoa.
For more information about today's guest and the topic we discussed, check the description box for this episode. Join us again soon for more extraordinary stories from everyday people, shining the light of hope for others to follow.